you to Vandergraaf for sponsoring this month's edition of Road to Recovery. Visit their website for more information about the Vandergraaf drum motor designed specifically for heavy industry applications.
We can transition a little bit and talk about maybe what's new or what's coming in terms of regulation and what the Trump administration is targeting within its regulatory agenda.
Yeah, this has been an interesting development, Kevin. It's something you wouldn't really expect out of the Trump administration, with all the touting about actually reducing regulatory burdens on industries. MSHA sort of going the other way a little bit. And we definitely saw an advancement in that direction with this latest regulatory agenda. There had been some people wondering, what is the virus going to do to this? Are we really going to see it as loaded an agenda as we might otherwise? And in fact, we did. Surprisingly, the agenda includes silica in it, with a proposed rule supposed to come out in August. Silica has been on the agenda for a while, but a lot of people were thinking that we probably weren't going to see a silica rule coming out of this administration. But now it looks as if we may actually see at least a proposed rule coming out of this administration. So there's a lot of question right now about, what is that going to look like? One of the things that industry had been really pushing for quite a bit was to allow for respiratory protection equipment, respirators to be used basically as a means of compliance with whatever lower limit MSHA might also put into that rule. I think that's going to be really very important for mine operators to have that opportunity to use PPE for compliance. Administrative controls is something else that hasn't historically been accepted by the agency for compliance, and that's something else that perhaps we'll see some elements of that in the new proposed rule. So it's just a lot of guesswork at this point in terms of what's going to go into it, but it does look as if they're going to try to put something out, which again is not necessarily what everybody was expecting. I do think August is sooner than we're probably going to see it because of the virus. I think it's just taken a lot of attention away from completing these regulatory requirements, but I think they probably will try to put out something before the end of the current term of the administration. The other one that everybody's watching for in metal and non-metal is the powered haulage rule, and in their agenda, MSHA said that July we'd be seeing it. Well, we're almost at the end of July right now, so I think this one will be delayed a little bit. But there was some interesting language in the proposed agenda that seemed to suggest that, or in the regulatory agenda, that seemed to suggest that the proposed rule is going to look more at this in terms of a written safety program for powered haulage protection, as opposed to, there's nothing really in there about mandating certain types of equipment, like cameras or what have you. So that might be an interesting solution to the issue, I think, in terms of, how do you mandate something that fits all surface mines or surface areas of underground mines in terms of what type of equipment to use to protect from people coming into contact with vehicles, or make sure that people are wearing their seatbelts. This going with more of a written safety program probably would provide that needed flexibility, so compliance is possible. But again, it's going to all depend on what is written into the rule.
So on silica, Margot, you're talking that's a proposed rule for August, and potential rollout of that could be months or theoretically years, and the same possibility on powered haulage also?
Yeah, that's right. Particularly, I'd say with the silica rule, it's going to have to be on a much longer track because of how heavily data-driven the analysis has to be. So rules like that typically take years to be issued. The powered haulage rule, I think, it depends on what's in it. But to me, that one could be on a sooner track. There's just not as much heavy scientific analysis that needs to go into that. But again, rulemaking is typically not a quick process. And I'm hedging a little bit because I know we're near the end of possibly an administration here, a presidential administration. And when we were at this point at the end of the Obama administration, they put out very quickly the workplace exam rule with only about 6 months or so of that final stage of the rulemaking. So it has been done quickly, but it's rare.
Thank you to Vandergraaf for sponsoring this month's edition of Road to Recovery. Visit their website for more information about the Vandergraaf drum motor designed specifically for heavy industry applications.